Thank you all. And my name is Christopher Skipper. I'm a corporate partner at the global law firm Squire Patton Boggs. Perhaps if we can, looking at what DEWA has done in the sustainability space in Dubai, it has a number of quite impressive sustainability projects. One that springs to mind in particular is Mohammed bin Rashid City, which is the largest single-site solar plant in the world. As Mohammed, perhaps as the chief officer for sustainability and climate change at DEWA, how important is it to you for DEWA to be seen as an influencer in the sustainability sector and to actually be able to demonstrate the applicability of sustainability in the energy field?
Very good. That's a good question. Let me start to set a concept about Dubai in general and Dubai Electricity and Water Authority. The way we operate here in the United Arab Emirates and Dubai, visions are set by their Highnesses, mainly His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, President of United Arab Emirates, and His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President, Prime Minister and ruler of Dubai. In certain levels, I will just focus on Dubai. So we have main strategies like the Dubai Clean Energy Strategy, which is a long-term strategy by 2050 to target having clean energy by 75%, including a mixture of solar energy, nuclear energy and clean coal. Complementing those strategies, we have what we call the demand-side management strategy to reduce the electricity and water consumption by 30% in 2030. And also on Dubai level, we have what we call the carbon abatement strategy to reduce the emissions by 16% in 2021. We can happily say that we already achieved the target and exceeded 16%, reaching 19%, 2 years ahead of schedule. Now, it's a collaborative effort, being a government entity. We go back to Dubai Electricity and Water Authority and how we take care of sustainability as a main directive and driver. First of all, it's already situated in our vision. Mr. Abdurrahman will talk, of course, further about the strategy, but I can tell you the story and how it elevated throughout the years. I remember in 2012 actually, we elevated or changed the vision from a recognized world-class utility to a sustainable world-class utility, and then also elevating it to sustainable innovative world-class utility. And then of course an organization which sets in its mission as well the importance of sustainability. Now if you look at the strategy, the main element for any organization is the strategy map and how you evaluate your balance in terms of key performance indicators and objectives. It was customer-oriented at the beginning in terms of our priority, and financially focused to focus on the financial gains of the organization to sustain the business, of course, going forward. Now, any organization to survive, the financial aspect is very important, but we took it to a second level where we introduced the triple bottom line concept to elevate the importance of environment, social and economic contributions of DEWA to Dubai Electricity, to the Emirate of Dubai, of course. Now, throughout this journey, we introduced a lot of programs like the Corporate Sustainability Program, Emission Reduction Program, and we started developing and focusing and taking the lead also as an organization in those areas. Now we have climate change risk and resilience strategies to look at adaptation, not only mitigation. We have disclosures that we submit through our sustainability report on our annual basis. We look into behavioral aspects and introducing technologies to ensure that our customers are engaged. So being an organization that at least contributes to 40% of the emission reduction in Dubai, we take it seriously as an organization, and we like to take the lead, of course, in this area.
Thank you. I guess that kind of feeds in to Abdul Rahman and your title and your role within the organization, which is Vice President for Corporate Strategy, Risk and Resilience at DEWA. I mean, in this fast-paced world of ever-changing technology, it's quite a challenge to look into the future and see, what's over the hill next year, yet alone in the long-term future. How do you go about actually predicting those things and bringing the organization together and pulling out new ideas for the future?
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. It's a good question. Adding to what my colleague Mohammed has said earlier with regards to DEWA's strategy, let me start with DEWA as a government entity. Strategy is aligned with the UAE Agenda 2021, with Dubai Plan 2021 as well. And it includes the alignment with the UAE directions and Dubai directions as far as gender equality. From our end, as you said, the future has many challenges. It's a very challenging environment to operate in, but we make sure that we take all of these aspects into consideration when we're actually formulating our strategy. Let me go also to one very important point, which is about gender equality. As you know, many studies have proven that actually equality brings a lot of, or improves the team dynamics, increase the performance of teams, as well as getting different perspectives. So I can proudly say my boss is a woman who is here. I have some of my team members as well as here, and they're women. And actually 60% of my team are actually women. And their perspective on how to do things is totally different from men in general, which as a result leads to good results.
Thank you. Athla, Abdul Rahman made some interesting points on, obviously, the importance of gender balance at DEWA. You are a senior engineer in the organization, doing a lot of interesting projects. Is there any project you're particularly interested in, how you influence your colleagues, how I see a lot of your colleagues sitting in the front row, how you engaged with them and delivered on a project you're particularly proud of in the organization?
I'm happy to answer your question. Given the fact that I'm an electrical engineer working at DEWA, that automatically sets the context that I'll be either working to produce electricity or transmit electricity or distribute electricity. But I had the chance to work in climate change and sustainability department, which is a very dynamic department. So I think over the years we even witnessed the female factor, or what do they bring in terms of projects. We always ensured that they have been, they introduced different ideas that we can bring to the table. I'm lucky to be supported in that way. So whenever we have a new initiative related to climate change and sustainability, we follow mega trends that we have, we get to adopt them. So one of the projects, and very exciting projects I've been working with, even Mr. Abdurrahman here, is a climate change risk and resilience. So DEWA is actually one of the first in the region to implement such a project, which studies the impacts of climate change and how us as a business we can adapt to those changes, mitigate and put the right measures to withstand any impacts we have in the future. That's one of many. I also had the opportunity to work with the Sustainable Development Goals, a subject that I have been personally very passionate about. So I got to learn, even here with leading women, I got to work with different specialists within sustainability, which even allowed the platform, and Mohammed was very excited with the project, and we brought it in, and then we started to study it. And the most important part is that working towards such projects is not only like one-to-one. We try to involve as many divisions. DEWA has actually 13 divisions. We're about 12,000 employees. So you can imagine that every individual has something to add. So we created an SDGs leading team. So it's like a couple of members from different divisions to see what sustainable initiatives and projects they're doing, contributing to the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So that was one exciting project that we saw, through which DEWA advances its goals using its female engineers to actually take that forward and implement them.
Thank you very much. I guess, Mariam, there was something else that I know you're all involved in, is Sequoia, the UAE Water Foundation, and I know you particularly lead the My Sustainable Dubai.
My sustainable living program.
Yeah, which uses, as an engineer, you're using complex analytical behavioral science techniques to encourage people to use water in a more sustainable manner. But you also contribute a lot of your personal time to the Sequoia Foundation, delivering water to, communities that need clean drinking water.
Yeah.
Out of your bio, that was something that really jumped out at me in terms of doing that kind of humanitarian work. Could you perhaps tell us a little bit about the foundation, what you do, and how your experience as an engineer at DIWA has helped you deliver and influence that project?
Thank you for that question. So just to give a brief about UAE Water Aid Foundation Suqya, and just to highlight that I'm actually sitting here next to our manager Mohammed Shamsi. He's the executive
I'm getting a lot of
director. So he's actually best to give you a full brief about Suqya, but I just take you shortly through its journey, which started actually before I even joined DIWA. So it started off as a campaign launched by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum back in Ramadan 2014. And the target there was to get enough contributions to provide water to 5 million people around the world. And it actually, thanks to the generosity of the people of the UAE, it exceeded the target in contributions. And by 2016, they had actually reached more than 8 million people around the world. So by the time I joined, it was established as a foundation. The team had already established strong and solid partnerships with other organizations and entities to work on humanitarian projects across the world. And as of today, we've increased that number to more than 9 million people around the world in 36 countries. So when I came in, I learned about the UAE Water Aid. I didn't have any idea about it, and I saw the projects that they were doing abroad, and it consisted a lot on digging wells, artesian wells, or surface wells, and so on. I think where our engineering background came in, or where our experience at DIWA actually came in, is that we wanted to make those projects more sustainable. So as you know, about women and girls are usually responsible for water collection in about 80% of the households in the world. Mostly households that do not have water access within the homes. So we were doing the wells, but we still found that women still had to travel to that. So we wanted to make it easier for them. We wanted more sustainable solutions, and that's where our knowledge from DIWA came in, and we expanded on our projects to establish distribution networks as well. So that was one thing that I was very proud of, and to see a change in the way that we were doing our work in Suqya, and also we saw that influencing also our other partners as well, looking into more sustainable projects from distribution networks, and then also looking into filtration purification systems. So I would say that's one of the most things that I'm proud of, that we as DIWA were able to contribute to making a more positive change.
So I've heard about the future, sustainability, the work that DIWA is doing in gender balance, and the invaluable nature of that balance to looking into the future and coming up with new ideas. And then also the humanitarian elements of your team. And I know you mentioned to me just before, you all work together on a regular basis, so you all contribute to these projects together. So taking in the theme of this forum, the GWFD 2020, and what we've discussed over the past 20 minutes, is there anything you would like to sort of leave the audience with as a key message to take away with them, or dwell on, or think about as they go? What you would like to say to everybody here to take away and dwell on as they leave us?
Yeah, I can start with that. Thank you, Chris, and everyone. Basically, the key message that I want to say as someone responsible for strategy in a government entity, that gender equality is a very important aspect of the UAE's agenda. It's a very important objective as well as part of Dubai Plan 2021. And DUA is making sure that we are aligned to our leadership and to the UAE government directives when it comes to gender equality. And this is something that we are working on and will continue to work on to ensure that it is not only achieved on a short-term basis, but is something sustainable and is well embedded within the organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdurrahman. If I may add, honestly speaking, we're blessed here in United Arab Emirates. The leadership takes it seriously. From the founding of the United Arab Emirates in 1971, late Sheikh Zayed prioritized education for everyone, specifically for women. It was a taboo back then for women to go and study. Mainly the perception was a woman should support her family. When she gets married, she has to support her husband. But that changed. Education was a top priority from very high percentage, I'm not sure of the number, to let's say 0 UAE nationals that don't have education. So everyone became educated back then. 66% back then, graduates now. Yes, very good. To add to that as well, and how basically the leadership took it as a priority. Late Sheikh Zayed also said that the woman is half of the society. If you don't have that half, you cannot, let's say, succeed as a community anywhere, of course. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed made sure that there is a target for women in leadership roles to take place in the future, and the target is to have 50% at least ministers or ministerial level from leadership that are contributed by women. So I think the opportunities are there. To talk about personal experiences, in my team, we are 18 people, 4 are men, 14 are women. And we heavily rely on them. They're given the responsibilities that they have at their homes and their personal life and at work. There is always this drive from women to prove that they're successful, they're very strong. We deal with them on daily basis. Their development, honestly, Maryam and Adva specifically, when they started 4 years and almost 5 years back, fresh graduates. Adva joined as an intern, I remember, for a couple of months. Immediately we saw the talent and we told her to come in. Maryam, I remember we saw the CV, we called her up, we told her half an hour you should be in office, no preparation.
He didn't want me. Can I just mention?
Okay, I have to say the story.
He was trying to establish a gender balance, and he already had like a large number of women in the team, so he was trying to...
Back then we were 8 female employees and 2 men. I got her CV and I told her, please stop, no more women. I kept it on the side for a while, and then opportunities came and we called her in, of course. Throughout the journey, honestly, Adba specialized now in areas related to climate change risk, emission reduction program, understanding all those new concepts that you don't usually find in any market. So having that sort of specialization is amazing development, honestly, to see from anyone. Maryam started in areas related to environment, started focusing on sustainable development goals, the charitable aspects. Just July last year, we gave her a new topic with regards to My Sustainable Living, a totally new topic for her. She handled it perfectly, and we're taking it to the second level, of course. So what I'm trying to say here is it's not a question of gender balance. It's a question for us men to catch up with the existing talent, honestly. Yes.
Okay, so just to touch on having a positive influence or change. So often, like because people see where we work at D1, the UAE Water Aid Foundation, and they always say, okay, we want to be part of an organization that where we can have a positive influence, and they often take for granted that they themselves have the power to create a positive influence. Small changes, whether it was small actions or even just small words of encouragement to a colleague or a sister or a nephew, they can have a positive influence. When you give a person like a kind word of encouragement, they would translate that to the next person they see, and the next and the next and the next, and you have a ripple effect creating huge waves of change. So I just wanted to give that a small message that you don't have to be part of a huge organization to have an influence. It's all within us. We have the power to make a change even with the smallest steps.
Echoing to what my colleague Mariam said, it's not only about influencing change only, but it starts from you. So grasp any opportunity, trying to learn from the little things, and believe me, one day you'll see that they all add up. You start using your engineering experience in a non-profit organization, and you start using your humanitarian impact and touches that you leave to the people into investing more into what world you want to put together, like without the impact of climate change or all of that, and then how they all come together under the Sustainable Development Goals. So don't miss out any opportunities, and there are always supporters, and just move on forward, try to learn from the little things.
Thank you all. I think that was a very engaging discussion, and particularly the pearls of wisdom you left behind there for us to take away. Can we have a round of applause for our panelists, and thank you all for attending.